How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today we're covering the top 14 pros and cons of Boulder, Colorado, and we're starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everett, and listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons to moving to or around Denver, Colorado, then this is a channel for you. So that subscribe button and notification icon you see on your screen, make sure you click on that as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And as much as I try to be a little informative here on camera, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with some of the Front Range's most talented realtors. And we're helping people move here each and every day. So the number and email you see on your screen, know that I'm always the person answering your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails. They're winning if you need me. Now that we're done with that fun-filled stuff, let's get to what we're here for, and that is the top 14 pros and cons of Boulder, Colorado. Boulder, Colorado. Whether you live there, visit there, or have heard about it, Boulder is one of the most loved and hated, debated towns, maybe not in the world, but certainly in the nation, and in Colorado, without a doubt, number one on the list. Even people who live in Boulder have a love-hate relationship sometimes with it, but it is also one of the most popular locations for people who are living in, moving to, or visiting Colorado. So obviously it's got some good things going for it. Why do we have 14 pros and cons today? Well, because as I made my list and I started to narrow it down, I couldn't get to a nice number like 10. So you get 14 and they're mixed and matched. So we're gonna start with our number one pro of Boulder, and it's pretty obvious, I think, and that is Boulder is a naturally beautiful town. It just is. Especially as you're driving into Boulder, you're coming up Route 36, heading northwest out of Denver. You come up over this hill and Boulder sits in this valley next to the Flatirons, and it's just gorgeous. It's one of the more picturesque visions you'll ever see. And so the natural beauty of Boulder, that immediate feeling of being outdoors and enriched, it's there, it's quite obvious. Boulder is surrounded by a green belt. The local government, which we'll kind of get into as we go, will keep that green belt in existence. So you'll never see development building right up to 36 and kind of flooding Boulder in. You'll always have, at least in our lifetime and our children's lifetime, that picturesque view as you cross 36 in that hill. And tying off of that natural beauty is the outdoor activities that Boulder provides. When you talk about bike paths, when you talk about hiking, when you talk about parks, and just a lot of things to get outdoors and do, Boulder is all about that. You're in the Front Range, you're right against those Flatirons, you're right against great hiking trails like Chautauqua we're gonna get into. There is so much outdoor activity to enjoy with Boulder. The second pro of Boulder is how strong its community is and how close-knit it is. Now, we'll talk about how some people can feel socially distant. We'll talk about that as we get farther into this video. But when you talk about communities that do a really good job of doing things together, having different events, especially if you want to hold some type of outdoor activity to benefit something, Boulder is all about that. And you really feel that community sense when you are in Boulder. It's definitely something that my friends and clients that live there, people I've talked to in that area, speak highly of Boulder for. And the culture of Boulder is unique, especially, let's be honest, for the people who love it. The art scenes, the galleries, the museums. There's a lot of that in Boulder, and the people who resonate with that and enjoy it, that is one of their biggest pros and one of the most positive things that you get feedback on when we're talking about Boulder. So the third pro of Boulder is the educational opportunities of the area, and not just because it's home to the University of Colorado, a gorgeous campus, national prestige, and certainly the state's best university, at least it's typically highest rated, but it's also home to the Boulder Valley School District. So Boulder Valley is routinely the top or one of the highest rated school districts in all of Colorado. And it covers not just Boulder, but nearby areas like Louisville and Lafayette, to name a couple. So that school district, again, highly rated, and you certainly have a plethora, I like using that word when I can, a plethora of different private schools as well. So education is highly rated throughout Boulder. One of the big reasons that people want to live in or near Boulder is for that reason. So education is a huge pro when we're talking about the town. I'm just gonna see how many times I can say Boulder in this video, just like 75 times. Number 4, we talk about the outdoor activities, but health and wellness is a big deal in Boulder. There, I said it again. And the funny thing is, I know in my description of this next one, I used the word plethora again. There I go. Apparently I watched Three Amigos pretty recently. But when you talk about wellness studios, gyms, places for yoga, places for Pilates, Boulder's all about it. And not just indoor, but outdoor. You can feel how healthy overall that community is. Whether the sun is out or not, they are outside. They're going to gyms, they're taking care of themselves. Food, what they're eating is very important to them. You get that sense pretty clearly. Now, that's not to say that if you're going to live in or around Boulder, you have to be an absolute health nut that goes to the gym every day. I'm just saying you might want to think about it. Probably also why I live in Lakewood. And playing off that health and wellness is our 5th positive and our pro, if you will, and that is the dining scene. So food, restaurants, there's always like some new options in Boulder, and some places that have been around for decades. Now, I do have to remiss that during COVID we lost a couple of, I think, Boulder's best restaurants. That was unfortunate, but you continue to see growth in that aspect, and because of that town and what they desire, plenty of food options. Some really good, just variety of restaurants to choose from. So the food scene in Boulder, and definitely check out the Flagstaff restaurant. One of my favorites is the Flagstaff. And I mean, come on, if we're gonna talk about food, granted I'm talking about health, we also gotta talk about the breweries and coffee shops. Coffee shops, there's a lot of great ones, but the brewery scene in Boulder is excelente. So you definitely get up there, check out some brews, have a few, and then you have coffee shops the following day to get rid of the hangover. That works out. So breweries in Boulder are definitely something you want to see. And 6th, and before I really get all negative on you, is the historic charm of Boulder. There's a lot of history to this town. It's been around for over 100 years. It's been important to Colorado since its inception. And so when you go through the town, whether you're walking down Pearl Street or you're getting into its different neighborhoods, you have homes that have been around for a century plus, others that have been around for 60, 70, 80 years, these different neighborhoods, these different feels, a lot of things that just really resonate with the history of Boulder. And it's just a very pleasant place to go and visit. I'm going to end this video, I should have said this in the very beginning, I'm going to end this video with a quick list of some things that you want to explore in there, so you could always just fast forward past the negatives, just ignore those altogether and get to the good stuff. But a lot to explore, a lot to enjoy, and that history of Boulder just gets me. Sometimes when I'm talking in these videos, I just feel myself where I don't know what to say, and so I just kind of end with this random. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, so we had all that good stuff, and certainly we're going to end with some good stuff because we've got a list of things to do, but let's talk about the negatives of Boulder. And listen, just like it being beautiful is probably the easiest pro, the easiest con is that Boulder is expensive. It's expensive as all get out. It is likely, next to, we're talking mountain towns like Aspen or Telluride, it's going to be the most expensive Front Range town or city by far that Colorado has to offer. So whether you're talking about just simply your cost of living from a grocery and restaurants and day-to-day living aspect, or your affordability as far as housing, especially if you are thinking about buying a house, part of the reason a lot of people will not live in Boulder, but as nearby as they can, is because housing prices in Boulder, let's just say $1 million doesn't go very far in Boulder. So cost of living, housing affordability, by far are going to be the number one con that Boulder has. Second is Boulder has somewhat of a limited job market. Now it's huge into tech. There's finance companies there. Tech is by far the biggest, especially as far as high paying jobs that Boulder has to offer. Google has a headquarters there that gives you an idea. And that population is highly educated, and you'll see that as you do more research on Boulder. Overall, the percentage of population that has a degree in Boulder is extremely high. So certain companies like tech love Boulder for that reason. But overall, the job market does have a lot of people needing to travel outside of Boulder if they're not remote to find work. So a lot of people are driving or traveling down to areas like Broomfield, down into Denver, maybe up to Longmont for that. And speaking of traveling, now that I'm creating words, our third con is that traffic in Boulder can get a little messy, and especially when the University of Colorado is in session, you've got tens of thousands of students added to the town. And let's face it, when we're 18 to 22 years old, our driving is a con. So traffic can get a little congested there. You'll see some of the streets backed up, and that also includes tourist traffic. You get a lot of people up. So traffic can be a frustrating situation in Boulder. The fourth con, and this is something that a lot of friends talk to me about, clients, and again, people you just talk to in Boulder, and that is Boulder has somewhat of a social bubble. We talk about how close-knit the community is and the things they do and the way they engage people, but Boulder is kind of its own unique situation. And if you don't believe me, just wait until you get some of the comments on this video. I would venture, because people love to either love Boulder or hate it. So that social bubble is a thing, especially, I'm not saying you shouldn't live in Boulder if you're single, but I hear a lot that it is a tough town for certain single people that I know to live, just because of that isolation factor. Boulder has a really heavy, family vibe to it. So that can be a thing. Does it affect everybody? No. Again, certainly not saying that single people shouldn't live there. That's just some feedback I've gotten from friends and family. The fifth concern, and this is one that really drives some of my realtor friends crazy, and that is development challenges in Boulder. And this is tricky for Boulder. We talk about that natural beauty. We talk about the green belt and the fact that they want to keep that. They want to keep that visual appeal. Well, they want to also keep the history of Boulder. So you'll look at certain opportunities where, let's say somebody wants to buy a house and flatten it or gut it and redevelop it. The city will really stand up on a lot of those issues. So you don't see a lot of new developments in Boulder. You don't see a lot of construction happening, and there's only so much space, and that's basically the city and the local government is going to allow. So it's that duality. Do you want the beauty of Boulder? Do you want some of this development? Where is the middle ground? That's a big challenge. Next up on our list, our sixth con, is that Boulder really lacks diversity. There's not a lot. Most of the population in Boulder is Caucasian. My wife, being Venezuelan, we get up there and they have this great Venezuelan community in Boulder that we spend a lot of time with, a Latino population in Boulder. But while it may seem big because we're in the middle of it, as far as the population in general, it's not very big. So if there is a knock on Boulder as far as that, we talk about the culture of their museums and art and dance and all of these things. But as far as a diversity of culture and of people, that's pretty limited in Boulder. And next up, and really I could have just added this to development, but local government in Boulder, and this is something, let's just get this out of the way because I'm going to get comments that like it, comments that hate it. Boulder is known for being an extremely liberal community. There you go. I am giving you zero stance on that because I know how people can be good or bad or indifferent. I'll just let you run your comments, and as long as your comments are not just over the freaking line, I'll let you have all the conversations you can. But local government in Boulder, very liberal. And listen, that it has been that way for decades and decades. Boulder is a thriving city. It has a lot going for it. So there's some pros there. You will hear locals talk about, we talk about cons. Crime rates in Boulder have increased. Homeless people in Boulder has increased. Again, blame that on local politics if you wish. I'm just gonna let you guys have fun with that because that's what I do. And then our last con, and this will impact some people and won't impact others, and that is tourist crowds. Boulder is a big attraction. People traveling to Colorado and even people throughout Colorado love visiting Boulder, again, for all its activities, walking Pearl Street, all these different things that we can explore. So tourist crowds will certainly be intricate when it comes to Boulder. So I can't end a pros and cons video about Boulder just telling you some negatives and then off we go. So I'm gonna also include a quick list, very quick, of some great things that you might wanna do while you're in Boulder and that you should check out. First up on the list, it's the first thing you see when you see Boulder, and that is hiking the Flatirons. You gotta get out to the Flatirons. There's so many great trails there. Go check that out. Second, walk Pearl Street. Pearl Street is the heart of Boulder. Everything gets routed through there. It's where all the shops, It's just a great, street art, all sorts of things happen on street. Artists, people juggling stuff, check out Pearl Street. Then you have to visit the Boulder Dushanbe Tea House. My wife loves it. Go there for lunch every now and again. Just a very unique place. And I know someone is going to comment on this and say I pronounced it wrong. I'm doing my best, but a great place. You need to see that. It's right next to Pearl Street. Couple other ones. You want to explore the Chautauqua Park. Some great hikes there, and the Chautauqua neighborhood is also very cool. And you need to check out the Boulder Farmers Market in the summertime. Again, we talk about the outdoor activities, talk about the community, and we talk about food. Of course, they're going to have a great farmers market. Couple more, you're going to want to cycle the Boulder Creek Path right near downtown and stretching throughout Boulder. Just down the road from Boulder as well, if you're into rock climbing, is El Dorado Springs. About a 15-minute drive, probably less. I always get hit on for drive times here. So maybe 10 minutes outside of Boulder is El Dorado State Park. Great cliffs, great hikes, and rock climbing if you're into that. You're going to want to tour the University of Colorado. It's a cool campus. You want to check that out. You want to go to the Boulder Reservoir. Colorado doesn't have a ton of water to it, but Boulder Reservoir is a great place to visit. You want to enjoy the Boulder Theater. Again, right off of Pearl Street. Go see a show, go see a movie. Boulder Theater has a lot of history to it. Great place to experience. You want to visit the National Center for Atmospheric Research. So as you pull into Boulder, you're going to see this building. It's kind of off to the left. It's right against the Flatirons. And it's this really cool building. You don't know what it is, but it's the National Center for Atmospheric Research. And around there are these great hikes. So really cool building, really cool experience. Check that out. And last, I mentioned it as a pro, but you need to make sure you make this a priority. You need to tour the local breweries of Boulder. They're excellent at it. It's tasty. And I mean, if you don't like beer, I don't know. I don't have anything negative to say about you, but you should like beer occasionally. So there's pros, there's cons, there's things to do, there's all sorts of wonders. And if Boulder or the surrounding area is for you, it's a great time for us to have a conversation. So the number and email you see on your screen, though, that I am always the person, answer your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails. There, winning if you need me. This is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everett. That was 14 top pros and cons of Boulder, plus a little to-do list. Until I see you next time, peace.